You're watching Fugitive Redeye, and welcome to another episode of Redeye Raw. I don't really think I've talked at length about wrestling on the channel before. I might have at some point, but suffice to say, I actually really do enjoy wrestling, and before I get that one obnoxious person in the chat, yes, I know it's fake, it's fiction, it's entertainment, it's fun, that's the point. It's long-form storytelling in a very unique setting that you don't really get with any other form of entertainment. But yes, I do know that the fights themselves are pre-planned and that all of the fighting itself is fake. Well, almost all. Like, there are some things that are real. Like, you can't fake falling from, like, a 20-foot height. Like when Mankind got thrown off the top of the Hell in the Cell. Favorite match of all time, by the way. Undertaker versus Mankind, when he throws him off the top of the Hell in the Cell, and then pile drives him through the top, and then body slams him into a bunch of thumbtacks. Such an insane fight. His fucking tooth came out his lip. Mick Foley is a nut, but that's not who we're talking about today. We're talking about the other one in that fight, The Undertaker, who is my all-time favorite wrestler of all time. So, officially, he's been technically retired since June. And they've said this many times in the past, so we'll see. WWE does like to hype things up by doing things like this, but so on Sunday is Survivor Series, which is one of their pay-per-view events if you're unfamiliar. And it's going to be on the 30th anniversary of The Undertaker's debut. And he's been wrestling for 30 years. Again, he officially technically retired back in June. This is going to apparently be his final WWE appearance. He's going to make a guest appearance, and it's going to be his final appearance. Again, they have said that before, but I'm inclined to believe them for now. They also did say that The Rock versus John Cena was a once-in-a-lifetime match, and then they did it twice more after that. So, again, what they say and what they do are two completely different things. But I think that on his 30th anniversary with them, that's the perfect time to do it. He's technically been wrestling for 33 years, because he started on the independent circuit, went to WCW, had a couple of different gimmicks before he actually got The Undertaker. But The Undertaker is obviously the vast majority of his career. 30 out of his 33 years, he's been The Undertaker. He also briefly appeared in that movie, Suburban Commando, with that Hulk Hogan movie I talk about from time to time that I really like. But yeah, I really like The Undertaker. This is one of my favorite WWE... This is my favorite WWE DVD I own, Tombstone. It's the story of The Undertaker, because his fictional story within WWF/WWE is my favorite of all time, and it's one of the biggest reasons I love wrestling. Because it's like a crazy, soap opera, sitcom, drama, and sports all kind of mixed together. It's a really strange combination you don't get in any other form of entertainment. But in the kayfabe lore, and kayfabe is basically to say it's part of the story rather than actual reality. But in the kayfabe lore, The Undertaker has died multiple times and come back because he's the dead man, and he always comes back. And he's had a few different variations of the gimmick. There's the classical dead man. There's the... First there was the Western Mortician, then there was the Dead Man. Then there was the Prince of Darkness. Then there was the American Badass, which kind of morphed into Big Evil, which was basically just an extension of the American Badass, although Big Evil was a heel or villain. Heel means villain, so if I use that term, that's what it means for those of you unfamiliar. He's been face before, and face is, hero. It's also called babyface, but face for short. The Undertaker has had a long career, and his storyline has been one of the most intriguing things about the entire series. Series, by which I mean WWE itself. He's been on Raw, he's been on SmackDown, he's been at major pay-per-view events. He had a streak at WrestleMania where he was undefeated for the longest time, until he was finally defeated by Brock Lesnar, which, that was kind of disappointing. The streak was like tradition, but at some point it should have ended, so I get it. Or they should have just let him keep it and retire from WrestleMania early or something. But then his second loss at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns was pretty much the end of his kayfabe storyline. Like, he still made appearances here and there after then, but, like, as far as, like, the lore goes, that was, like, his send-off, and I think that that was fair. I think that should have been his only loss, to be honest. I think if they were building up to that match, to get over Roman Reigns, and get over means to, like, promote and make them popular, if you're unfamiliar with those terms, but to get over Roman Reigns, I think they should have just had The Undertaker lose there, and that be the end, and that be the end of his career. Because the send-off was so great in that match. But he's made sparse appearances here and there since. But apparently Survivor Series is supposed to be his final farewell, as they're calling it. I don't know exactly how much, how much, they're actually going to follow through with that. But for now, I'm looking forward to it. In all honesty, I'm thinking of buying the pay-per-view, but unfortunately the only way to do that is to subscribe to WWE Network, which I hate subscription services. I'd probably subscribe and then unsubscribe as soon as I watched it, which might just be what I do, because I really want to see it. I don't watch modern wrestling a lot. Like, I'm much more into, like, the Attitude Era and, you know, and the Ruthless Aggression Era, as well as, like, the 80s and 90s stuff, too, to an extent. So I don't really like a lot of the modern wrestling stuff. Like, ever since they went from TV-14 to PG, I haven't really kept up. I've caught sparse things here and there. I followed the Undertaker story online. I haven't really, like, watched, like, all the events he's been in, but I've followed more or less how his story's been going online. But I think I might actually get this one. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because I love The Undertaker. He's one of my favorite characters. He is my favorite wrestling character, but he's just kind of one of my favorite characters overall. He has such a crazy backstory that's just fun and wacky, and I love it. And it's gonna be, hopefully they send him off well. But yeah, for those of you who don't follow wrestling, hopefully this wasn't too boring for you. But there's a Red Eye Raw for you. Toodles.